one spark, one thought, one choice at a time. We build the collective. Everybody, welcome back to The Collective. We have another fantastic show for you planned out today, and I am stoked because we got Jeff here. It's his first time, and I am pumped for this. So while I am pumped, you should be too. Like the show, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, do all that good stuff. Get your emails whenever we go live, which is, of course, Fridays for The Collective, Wednesdays for the workshop. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, anything at all, put them up in the comment section. We can hit those throughout the show. And, of course, if you have not yet signed up for the reinforcement loop, make sure you do. That is our weekly newsletter. Goes out. Edition 61 just went out yesterday, and I thought I did a pretty good job on it. I was pretty happy with it. So get out there, read it. It's got some brain candy for y'all. I'm sure you would like it. Yeah, other than that, let's get right into the intros, and we'll get right into the show, and we'll go from there. So Jeff, why don't you give us a quick little 10 to 15 second, who are you, where you come from, all that good stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. Small town kid from a dirt road in Iowa. Loved baseball. That led me into military service. I was a strength coach at university before the military, and those two things kind of got joined now as human performance specialist, and I love the military. So kind of I'm going to do that with my wife, which is pretty rad. So like that's in a nutshell where I'm at.
Man, I like it. Sean, how's the mountains treating you? Oh, you forgot.
Things are good. Yeah, sorry. Trying to find my mute button. What the heck? It's my first show. I intentionally, I know a little bit about Jeff because Chance has really been quite excited to have you on, and he spoke very highly of you, but I've intentionally stayed away from you, like following you on social media, and like really deeply diving down into your background and et cetera, because I kind of wanted to get to know you on the show. And so if I'm coming in here with not a whole pile of information, it's intentional. It's not because I'm not interested. So
no, like nothing, like there's nothing you could say to me that would offend me. And I think some of that stems from our military service, probably, right? You're like, oh, I actually do have some thick skin, but also I get like the social media world's like it's an endless pit. So I don't have any feeling slighted at all by people that don't know me. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel you.
Well, I got a question for you. I don't know how long you've been on social media, but when I quickly glanced, and I mean glanced maybe 3 seconds, I glanced at your bio and I saw that you had, I think it was like 80,000, or it was a decent number of followers on IG or Instagram. And so I thought either you've been on there a long time, or you've got something really important to say, or your, I was going to say your label, but your reputation maybe has carried some of that. So since you brought up social media, I'm curious, like how long you've been on it, and give me a little bit of that if you don't mind.
My YouTube, we've had that for quite a while. I guess maybe 10 years. But as far as Instagram, I guess same thing. I got my first Instagram, I think 2016. It's shortly after I got out, a couple years after I got out, and it's been just grassroots. Honestly, like we just used our very first paid ad last week. Yeah. So like you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think I have a unique perspective in the sense that because I was a strength coach at university, I managed athletics and performance, and then I came into the Navy. It's like I saw it a little bit differently. Like doing the obstacle course, I'm like, like how would I, I just saw things differently, and ballistics and the math of it. I've always loved physics, love physics. And so some of that, I mean this respectfully, I would say like be a nerd or work for one or both.
Dude, I say it all the time.
Right. Like, and
I mean, come on now.
I'm all about
all about it.
I had really good teachers and mentors that are like, hey, don't ever be afraid to be intelligent. Like just go for it, And so like social media is a bit foreign to me from that standpoint. Like I don't dive in with the analytics. I'm pretty transparent, and I also like I'm not super digital savvy, but I can coach. And so like where my wife is at in life, and she manages the real business and is spectacular, we're just now hiring people to start managing our social media. So like it's been an interesting ride because I'm about interacting with people as much as possible, and social media, it doesn't leave me with that I guess that flavor of joy.
I do understand. Yeah.
So it's a tool. It's like our magazine. Instagram is like our performance first magazine, and we're in charge of
Mm,
it. So
mm.
we fortunately have some really good friends and partners and things like that that allows us to do what we want. And the timing is good. Just like when you guys reached out to us, like I've been on a lot of podcasts in my way, and that's not an attempt to give myself any sort of props. But this is the first time in a long time I felt like legitimately mature to have open-ended conversations with other adults.
Yeah, interesting.
That's an interesting way to look at
Yeah,
that.
I like that.
So
I'm stoked for this one because, like, as we were talking about just before we got in here, it kind of plays into this with social media and this the digital aspect of this is that, like, there's no real constraints on digital media, right? Like, you can say what you want, you can do what you want. I mean, there are some, but it's kind of open ended, and it plays into this quite well. So I want to get right into this because I'll give you guys a little brief on how we started this thought pattern. Was when I was talking with my boys yesterday. We were chatting about superheroes and superpowers and all these things, and they were talking about, well, if I had this, then I would go here, and if I had this, then I would do that. And I started thinking, like, what if you could do all of that? What if time and money and the constraints that we have in our lives was not an issue? What if you just were able to go do whatever you wanted to? And their first reaction was, well, I'm going to go party. I'm going to go get a boat. I'm going to go on the ocean, and I'm going to go travel here, and I'm going to have all the video games. And I was like, okay, cool. You've done all that. Then what? Where do you go from there? And so I want to get your guys' first thoughts. And then what? Jeff, what's your first thought? Hit us up.
yeah, I mean, this is not a great answer, but it is like I would do exactly what I'm doing. And it's not now it's scale different. Like keep that in mind. Like I would scale it differently. But I really like I fought with this for a long time. Like I'm an all-in person. I thought for sure that you guys would be interviewing me all these years later because I'm getting inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame, right? For the Yankees or Blue Jays. Like that's where my mind was at as a child. So moving forward now, like I learned something. I'm trying to learn something that's super valuable to me. I think it's like having enough. Now we can want more and do things and whatnot like that. Or it's like I'm a super achievement driven guy, and I'm sure you guys can relate to that as people. Like achieve the next deployment, the next skill, the next whatever, the next life. And but I pushed really really hard on trying to achieve for so long that like what I'm getting to do now, the privilege of what I get to do now with my wife, with the people I get to train on my own farm, in my own gym, on my own range, like I'm there. Like it's like we're building that very thing. Like I've been wanting to have my own farm with my own range, my own gym on my own property. Been wanting to do this for a long time. And life is, you got to be patient. And I finally got to do that. My wife and I finally moved out to our farm August 18th last year. And yeah, like I would, all the money in the world, I would really want to help people with the privileges and the pleasure that I've been taught, like all the privilege and the skill and the things as a mentor, as a teacher. And I know it's like this isn't a religious or Christian statement. I know it's not the rule, but like one thing I go like with Christ, you go like people followed that person, right? And one of the first things was said was like, don't tell anybody, right? But like as a teacher, as a mentor, as somebody that I take a lot of pride in giving people truth, like I get to do that. I think that for me, the currency of getting to do whatever I want with no money still is for me like kind of like we were talking before. It's like I don't want to just be a billionaire. I want to be like an impact. I want to make an impact on people. And I feel like that's my trajectory. Like I really feel that for the first time in a long time. I felt like, yeah, I achieved these things, but like again, my level of maturity, I'll be 48 here in a couple weeks. But darn, man, I really am living exactly what I would if I had a if it, we do. My wife and I talk about this. If someone, no kidding, my wife entered us into a competition. It's Variety Magazine's Couple of the Year, and like Jeff Goldblum, Ted Danson, and like forget the blonde, the redhead from American Pie. That we get to have dinner with them. My wife entered us, and we were winning. we're winning this $20,000 competition to have dinner with Ted Danson in Beverly Hills, and we're like 10 days away from winning this thing. And we're like, we're gonna get $20,000 after, before taxes. But like, what are we gonna do with it? 100% of that money is gonna go into our facility for our athletes. I guess I'm off target a little bit, but I guess I love what I do. I really am super blessed. And to have my health and to have my wife working with me in the place that I want to be around, like I said, it's kind of humbling, honestly, at this point. I really have been always like a ball of energy and trying to make stuff happen. And now it's like my consistency is my superpower a little bit. More than just energy.
I dig it. I like that. And I like that answer too, of just like, I don't think my life would change that much if I had all the capacity in the world, because I'm living the life that you want to live right now is fantastic. And so bonus for everybody, Pat Miller's going to be joining us really quickly here. I had him scheduled for today, and apparently I wrote it down in my book for next month. So he's going to be on here shortly, and we'll get his answer in a second too. But Sean, what are your first thoughts on, and then what?
So there's a number of ways I could take this. And so I'm not going to build them out. I'd love to, but I'm going to rapidly punch some things out, and then we'll see where it all lands and where it goes. So what would you do next, or what would you do with your life, or what does retirement look like? Boys, I'm 63 this year, and I've done a few things, and I can do anything I want in the world, honestly. Anything I put my mind to. I have no limitations now at this age with the means that I've got at my disposal. So the first question is, can you even answer the question fully if you don't feel that you've got full ability? All right? Because if you think you've only got half a bank account and half a body and half a mind and half a will, you're not going to go to the places that you could have. But if you believe that you have everything you've got to do what you want to do, now you can go do it. But that doesn't make you go do it. That just makes you feel like you can go do it, right? And so then what makes you go do it? So then I'm going to go back to what I think the show started off with your boys' chants, and they said, superpowers, I shoot lasers out of my eyes, I can levitate, I can punch a fridge, whatever. So what would the superpower be? What did your boys choose, chants? Did you ask them what their superpower would be?
Oh yeah, one of them was... Yeah, it was strength was a big one, and then flight was another one. So, and then speed, but it was like physical attributes pretty much across the board.
And what was yours?
Mine was the ability to understand what people mean behind what they say.
And Jeff, what was yours? I think you said consistency to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like if I really had to choose that, for me, it would be, I love to garden and I love to grow things. But there's always that, like, that the growing pains of learning to garden. I would have the superpower to bring life. So it's like I spent all those years of taking it, and now it's like that Zen sort of flip flop. It's like, oh, like I had no idea I had such a green thumb. But to your point, it's like that's my innate ability. Probably like you guys, it's like if I choose to focus on something, I'm gonna get it. And that's been the really interesting struggle. Is like I'd like be able to grow stuff. That would be my superpower.
So yesterday I picked my very, very, very first cherry tomato of the season this year. It's the first one. And I mean, if you start growing cherry tomatoes, you'll understand, or you probably already do understand, when, you look after something for a while, been looking after it all year, as do every year. Get out there. I see my first little cluster. I was just watering the backyard, and whoa, there it is. They came out overnight. And I go over there. They're already wet because I've been watering down the backyard vegetable gardens. And as I go to pick the first one, I can smell it. It's that freshly watered, just about to be picked first cherry tomato. The anticipation that I know from last year and years prior. So as I reach out and, oh, it was the perfect pull. This one's going to be a good one. Now I'm preloading my mind as to the experience, if you will. I'm drawing on the past. And so I take that first taste. Instantly, what am I doing? I'm contextualizing it against last year's memory. Like I'm appreciating what's happening in the real time, of course. but I also want to gather data, like yourself, maybe, Jeff. I have a mind that works in a certain way, and so I'm now kind of contextualizing against like my number ones across the year that I can barely remember, but I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to compare and contrast because that's what I feel we all do, whether we recognize it or not. So I've picked my first one, tasted it, and then I've thought, all right, I don't know what it's going to be like next year because that's the way my mind works. I'm already punching forward into the future, iterating again and again and again. So I'm going to round all of that out. And now I think you guys will be able to maybe agree with me that this is actually a pretty decent superpower. And it's one that you've got to see in yourself. You can't just like claim it and say, that's what I'm going to be. You've kind of got to like really own it, I would say. And I will own it. I will say that my superpower, after much years of thought, is my curious mind. I have an extremely curious mind. I have a pretty good intellect as well. But even if my intellect was mediocre, or whatever the kids call it, mid, if I had a mid intellect, I'd still take the curious mind. Because with a curious mind, you can do more than most people in the world. And so I'll put myself up against the biggest intellects in the world who don't have curiosity.
Right.
But I wouldn't put myself up against someone who has a mid intellect, but is about to save the planet with their intense curiosity. And so, for me, the superpower, as I've felt for a long time and seen and reflected upon, is my intensely curious mind.
I like this. And the reason I wanted to hit you guys specifically with this, and when Pat gets here, I'm going to hit him with this as well, is that, coming from your guys' professions where constraints they're given, but like from what I understand of guys at the level in which tier 1 kind of hits and special operations hits, you're going to get the job done. Doesn't matter what the constraints are, right? The mission's going to be achieved, period. And so I wanted to kind of play with it in your guys' minds of like, well, take away the constraints. Take like the simplest path for you guys. If you could just hang out and be dudes, would that be your choice? And I know for Jeff, you're saying, I just want to sit on my farm and grow things. Like that's an amazing capacity. But I know a lot of dudes who like can't. They can't just sit there and watch things grow. They need the next thing. They need the next purpose, the next mission, the next drive, the next like gimme. And I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on perhaps some of the other people in the community that struggle with this concept of just being. What do you think, Jeff? I'll put you first.
Yeah, I now that my way of being isn't an old way. Like I was that, like you were saying, Chance. Like I could not sit still. I couldn't be still. I felt like that taking action or that being somewhere, doing something, validated my ideology, myself. Like I gotta go be important, be busy, be at a clinic, be at a conference, be seen. And I went through that and survived my suicide because that was not in a happy place for me. Like that, always achieve, atone, achieve. Like it, to me, it was an endless cycle of like an ideology. Like to me, I'm saying like so that like the hardest thing for my type to do is to be still. It's the hardest thing. It's the most extreme thing. I've been able to do some very interesting things in my life. I've been privy to some really fantastic humans and groups. Um, in the military world, the extreme side of skydiving and all those sort of things and in combat. But there's nothing there's nothing I've ever done more extreme than taking time in my life now to go, okay, I've got what really makes me happy isn't the pursuit of happiness. It's kind of like then we say like the hey, what's next? And what I hear and feel is that's the whole point. There is no end state because I finally fallen in love with the process. Like spiritually, holistically, like who I really think I am, What am I really about? What am I trying to achieve? Those are all for me a bit of a holding pattern now to enrich my real self instead of trying to enrich this desire to achieve or the desire to get to the next thing. And I totally understand it. Like, and because of my drive to do the next thing, be the next thing, be important, be special, be lethal, be all these things, whatever. In that pursuit, I found my truest self in the one that can now reflect and appreciate that and then learn to be still whilst not dulling my edge. Like I'm still a world class shooter. I can still do all these things at a very high level. But the fact that I'm not called to do it as duty, like official duty for me was a weird separation. But now I find it's like the inner voice inside of me is now compelling me to be consistent. And that's extreme for me. That's real extreme to like go to bed the same time, wake up the same time, like have a schedule, you know? And so as much as I really appreciate what the chase gave for me, um, it's given me the perspective now to be able to enjoy that extreme nature of being still. So it's kind of like I never would have been saying this 5 or 6 years ago. Like I couldn't have understood the value in being still for a minute and surveying the world from a different lens. But maybe it won't last. Maybe I'll like get the itch and want to go do it, but I don't feel like I'm going to have any sort of midlife crisis. Like I'm looking for like a wraparound front porch and a rocking chair, not a Lamborghini. Like I don't have that drive, you know, it's per se, I guess. But um,
Maybe the porch is the midlife crisis that that most people don't think about it. Maybe it's just that
you know, it's pertaining to the other guys. Like I kind of feel my heart has a lot of empathy towards the people that don't find the ability to be still. I'm not saying all the time. Like I'm a fireball when I have to work and get accomplished stuff. I totally am. But there's a real bit of beauty in the cliche being warrior in a garden. Like there really is some immense beauty to the samurai. You know, like a group of people that were in civil war for 660 years. Like you're like, what came out of that extreme violence? A lot of love and compassion, and like that's the place I'm finally at. Where like I'm extremely violent. I haven't met many people as violent as me in that actuality of doing the job. But what I realize is that having that extreme nature opens us up for all sorts of things. Like, and I appreciate like the imagination of what we're talking about. Someone that has immense creativity is most closely unique. Like they're being authentic. People that are really, really open-minded and have this amazing imagination tend to be like Rudy Reyes, right? Like I just talked to him last week, and you're like, his heart is so big, it spews out of him in creativity, right? And you're like, that's grace. That's grace. Somebody that can be that extreme, but also be that truly deeply connected with their empathy, and that's what I'm shooting for.
Rudy's a great example of this too. He's we like to say he's got big Rudy energy. He brings it to the show whenever we can get him on here, and it's always good to have him on because he is deeply authentic. Sean, you got any thoughts on any of this?
Several, so just bear with me. So on the very current point here with Rudy, you know I love Rudy. Rudy's awesome. We have all kinds of laughs in my DMs, but Rudy is pretty unique. And so I don't want anyone out there to think that, the path to success, or if you want to be notable or whatever, be Rudy. Because maybe Rudy doesn't even know what Rudy is, right? Rudy's just out there living his big best life, and he's got lots of energy. But does he know what energy he has and why he has that energy, and where is it all going for Rudy, as it were? And I'm not using Rudy specifically. I'm talking about you come in with big Rudy energy. Do you even know who you are with that energy? Or is it just you were always energetic? What does that mean? And so, again, to pay attention to labels or categorizing people as an example, I like to point people towards Rudy for his love of life, for his joy of life. But that doesn't mean that Rudy's got it all figured out, because none of us do. And so all of us, have to be careful to not misidentify something that we think is freaking awesome, when really it's just perhaps a veneer of a coping mechanism to manage their little world that is confusing to them. I'm not saying that is what Rudy's doing. I am just using it as a cautionary tale. Second thing, on books, on the aspect of what to do with your curious intellect and how you should be visible in the world and what you should do with your knowledge. Well, back in the late 90s, when I was computer system engineering, I was asked to write a book, and I did write a book, begrudgingly, actually. But it's 700 pages long. I said I'd never write another book. What's up, Pat? And so I've just finished writing another book called The High Fidelity Mind. And that was freaking hard. And it's not like I wanted to do it, but I did. But what that did do for me, Jeff, and something for you to think about, I'm not saying you should become a writer, I'm just saying that something for you to think about. For me to write that book, it cost me several thousand hours. Started writing it last November when I was in Vietnam, and unannounced, and put several thousand hours into it. And it taught me a lot about myself, because you've got to think deeply and quietly and kind of complex way for the kind of book that I just put out. So I had to spend a lot of time with me curiously. And I don't think a lot of guys do that. I think that they spend a lot of time in the external world talking about their ideas externally. They do that before they've spent any time by themselves thinking internally to create actual good sentences about who they are. And so rather than co-opting someone else's and spinning a tale that isn't about them. So the third book that I'm halfway finished writing right now, which again was something that I didn't expect ever in my life, is literally called The Warrior and the Garden. And it is literally about what you're talking about. And it was literally written to address the things that you've been discussing, Jeff. And so my point to you would be this, that I'd already established back in the late 90s that I would never write another book again, because it damn near broke me. So what made me do it, other than my curious intellect and, my empathy or compassion for my friends? What else made me do it? And those are questions that I don't think a lot of people ask themselves. They kind of begrudgingly start doing things, and then they kind of forget about why they were doing it. They just get on with doing it. And so, to some degree, Jeff, it's not that I heard that precisely in your voice. I did hear a little bit of that, not begrudgingly, but like you've got on with doing things because you kind of had to do them. But writing a book quietly by yourself, that'll change your relationship with what you have to do and what you want to do and what you need to do, and lots of whats. And so I'd suggest to you, if you haven't, maybe you've already got a book out. Think about writing a book, see where it takes you.
That's a good way to look at it. I know he's poked and prodded me to the point now that I'm starting to write too, and I'm like, oh, man, now I got to actually think about what I say. It makes it really difficult. Pat, buddy, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I had you written down for next month for some reason. That's on me. I really do apologize, but I'm glad you could join us. I sent you the email, and I'm wondering if you have any just general thoughts right off the bat before we throw you into the fire.
I didn't look at the email to see what we were actually talking about. I just found my spot in an area that had good reception, because I'm down at Operation Pegasus
Nice.
right now. And so I just kind of jockeyed into a better position, and I have no idea what we're even talking about today, to be honest, but thought I'd join the conversation.
Beauty. I really appreciate you being able to jump in here. And from OPJ, I know they're running, so I wanted to wear my shirt today. So that's fantastic. Wish I could be out there. Interestingly enough, though, to Sean's point here, you were saying that people do these things that they want to do without really realizing why they want to do them. And skydiving was one of those things for me. I thought, I wanted to be airborne when I was in the military, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. It's going to be so much fun, without really stopping to think why I ever wanted to do it. And then when I did finally get to do it at Pegasus Jump a number of years ago, I was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. It was super fun and great times, but it was not what I had imagined in my mind. And that presupposition as to what I thought it was going to be for me was radically different than the actual reality. And I think that happens a lot, where we get into these thought constructs early on in our life, like, oh, I want to be in the military, it's going to be like this, and then it's not, or it is, or it's even more, or whatever. But that presupposition kind of sets us up for, it's a bad way to say this, but it sets us up for failure almost, to not be able to have the concept fully ratified in our heads before we actually dive into these things, and then have to make it up as we go. Jeff, you got any thoughts on anything that Sean was putting down there?
Yeah, it's funny. I would, I think the book is kind of like one of the final frontiers of that, because it does correctly to slow down. I think that's the important. Like I'm a really well-read human. Like I've got like absurd number of books that I'm a voracious reader of nonfiction, and I really appreciate it. And I do that because I think that I'm a deep thinker, and very, very beautiful people tend to articulate in these books the way I feel. You know what I mean? Like you read them, like, oh, that's exactly what I feel, or how I feel, and they've just put it to words better, right? But you get to a point with your own life experiences, I think that you're right. Like you're really trying to navigate whatever it is we're trying to navigate. Like, who are we? What are we doing? Like the purpose of all these things, right? And I think that having the unique aspect of military service has, I guess, really has, that world travel and the things I've seen, it's opened my mind a lot more than, God bless my mother. She lives on the same dirt road my entire life in Iowa, not very well traveled, but like really, truly a graceful human being. You know what I mean? Like very simple. And I've been all over the world, but I can appreciate that. I can really appreciate where she's at and where I'm at. But I also kind of think that, isn't this the point? Right? I mean that. Like I don't mean to just slough it off to like, here's my answer, but like when we are getting through our 40s, we'll say, and that's because that's where I'm at now. This is the first time in my life I feel like I've had the realization of who I truly am and what I'm really trying to do, as opposed to, just like what you say, Chance, like I joined the military wanting to be a Navy SEAL. And I tell guys all the time, like, you don't get to dip your toe in it like you can with sport. You're like, you got to go for it at some point, right? And it's exactly what you say. It's like, I've gotten over 4,000 jumps. I've gotten probably 2,500 hey-hos, 2,500 jumps over 20,000 feet. And it's like, you don't know what you're going to get into until you get into it. But when you get into it, you're like, I'm not sure if I expected that or not. Like, and it's a weird relationship, right? Like I've accomplished all these things that I don't hang my hat on with, like, this is who I am, because like where I'm at now, I'm like, as much as I appreciate where I came from, it was really hard for me to live down that ideology of who I thought I was. That those idealistic belief systems that come with or constrain that severity of the job, good or bad. I don't have that constraint anymore. I think I don't feel compelled to do anything unless I compel myself to do it. And I think that's the book thing, right? You're like, the only reason why I'd write a book at this point is because I'm being called to do it, right? I have that calling to do it. And I can totally appreciate that. In a weird way, like I half expect that. I'll never write a book about my experiences per se, because I think it's deeper than that. I do. I think that going back to Rudy or other people, or even talking to you guys, it's like with our backgrounds, right? Championship type backgrounds, high intense, like you have either you know, try to stay on the roller coaster too long, or you'll get off it and you actually can make sense of it. And like I'm at that point now where I can make sense of it without feeling like I need to get drawn back into it. If that
Mm.
makes sense.
That's a great way to put it. I like it. Pat, you got any thoughts on any of this so far?
Not yet. I'm still kind of orientating myself to the convo because this is more
Gotcha.
about I understand that the topic was about what you could do if time and money were not a constraint, and so that's where my brain started to kind of go, right.
Yeah.
And as I'm thinking about it, it's like I think I'm already trying to live that, just kind of like how the same way I tried to do it with the military. So with the military, I wanted to do that, whatever it was, watching too many Rambo movies or whatever. I wanted to go blow stuff up and do the army thing, be a jumper, all that stuff. And then, ending up in at the unit, and that was a great life. And like being at Op Peg here, you're around all these vets and stuff like that, and you're like, yeah, like that was a past life, and I love the tribe and I love being there. But at the same time, I feel like I'm still kind of just picking what I would do if I had no time, like time and money wasn't a restraint. Like I'm still pursuing my photography, trying to make that my full-time gig, even though I'm supplementing it with other income. But that's still my drive because that's, I guess, how I've identified myself. So there's kind of a bit of identity, a bit of ego, but there's also just a want. Like there's just pure want and desire as well.
That's a great piece, and I wanted to touch on want and a desire, and we're going to get into that in a second. But before I do that, Sean, I'm going to hit you up in a second. Dan C jumped in here, said, "Good morning, gentlemen. Time to flip a coin and kick some ass. Good to see you, Dan." Littlefoot says, "Martin," and even here though, good to see you, Littlefoot. Sean, any thoughts on anything that we just threw down?
Yeah, so I'll throw out a general concept and then I'll give a specific instance. And so the general concept is this, listening to the fellas, kind of, it seems like they had an idea of what they wanted to be at a certain point definitively. And so by that, I mean, as I understand it, Jeff went to higher education, became a strength and conditioning coach, and then, moved on to a different career path. And those were all probably, that wasn't random. Those were all probably very well thought out, very well focused and directed paths. And Pat, he made a loose reference to watching too many Rambo movies. So, maybe culturally he was impacted. But I'd suggest that from what I understand of Pat, it was thoughtful, the direction that he went. And he was probably, I want to say intellectual in his choices. But now contrast myself, and I'm just playing a game now. I also thought these things the same as the fellas, but as a twist, a lot of my life is driven by by the feel of life, and so I felt like I wanted to be a super trooper when I was 5 years old. I just felt it. I couldn't explain it. And back then, like back in the '60s, when I was 5, there were no Rambo movies really. And even if my family could have afforded to go to the movie theater so that I could watch these kind of things to be inspired, perhaps, we just didn't. I didn't. There were no posters. There was nothing in the newspapers. It was literally a devoid of inspiration to some degree when I was growing up as a kid. But at 5, I wanted to be it. I wanted to be the thing, whatever that thing was in my head or my heart. That's how I've run my life. Now, of course, I've been intellectual. I've been highly disciplined and focused, and I've done all my homework. But my heart, my feel, my spirit has pulled me down the path that I've gone on, and that is often enough for me. With my general pull of my spirit and my curious mind, I'll get the things done that need to be done to satisfy me as determined by me. And so, again, back to the book, Jeff, if you feel like you have gone through a phase of life where you've gathered a lot of experience and wisdom and information, and you're now consolidating that in your 40s and you're feeling like you've arrived, well, then the next bus stop is actually now you want to deliver it to other people. And you will feel that. I feel that about you. But it's just a matter of how long it takes you to get to that realization and how long it takes you to settle into the realization once you're in it, because it's a freaking uncomfortable phase. As you've said, you've had some uncomfortable phases in your life. Well, stand by to get some, because the moment that you're exposing your mind to others in a way that perhaps you've never done before, it is challenging. And so that's the beautiful thing of life. For all of the people that are on this panel right now, we've all got enough curiosity and intellect that if we focus on something downstream, we will arrive. Our problem is that we have to choose carefully and enjoy it while we're going downstream towards it.
That's a great point. The enjoying going downstream while we're heading towards it is probably some of the hardest things to do, because that's usually, I'm going to use the stream analogy here, but like if you're in a kayak or a canoe and you're going down river, you're going to hit all kinds of things. There's rocks, there's wildlife on the side of on the banks, there's white water, there's cliff faces, there's all kinds of things that you're going to have to endure to get downriver. But we don't know what downriver is. And so to Jeff's point earlier about like enjoying the process, you have to really like to be on the water, not so much to be at the end, right, where you get out of your boat and load it back onto your car and then drive away. You have to just enjoy being on the water. And I'm going to ask you guys a question here in a second. USAF jumps in here and says, let's go. Good to see you, buddy. Some of us are ahead of the game. I love the desire comment. And so I want to get back to this want and desire comment because it clicked something in my head. I was talking with somebody earlier about this topic, and they brought up like, oh, yeah, I wish I could just win the lottery and then I could do whatever I wanted. And I started thinking about like most lottery winners, I don't know what the percentage of it is, but most of them are bankrupt in like 3 years, just because they've never had to handle money before. They don't know what to do with it. And they just, I'm going to do all the things, which is exactly what this conversation is about. So like if all of your wants were satisfied, if all of the desires of all of the things that right now, all of the missions that you have in your mind that you wanted to do, what then? What if you could check off the like, Sean, I've helped all the boys. Good to go. All done. Now what? Pat, you're like, I'm a professional photographer. Now what? Jeff's sitting in the garden all by himself and just like loving life. Now what? Where do you guys go from there? So Pat, I'm going to hit you first. What do you think?
I love it. I love this question because I've kind of gone down that rabbit hole many a times. It seems to be when I'm in like a very boring state. Sometimes I do like, what if I won the lottery? What would I do? I've done that before. I've played this exercise, and it's hilarious because I am a professional photographer. I've achieved that. I've been published. I've been, I have a gallery coming up at the Leica gallery. Um, at the end of the day, I'm still gonna. I picked a thing that was so true in my heart that if I had $1 billion in the bank account, I'd still probably drive around, sleep in my Bronco, and just pursue. I just do more of it. I would just be like at more events, shooting more photos, and half of them probably wouldn't even be published. As Sean knows, I don't even post half my stuff. But I would just still be out there pursuing what I love. And I mean, I guess I've been fortunate in some ways that I'm so dedicated to this dream, if you will, because at the end of the day, uh, I've accomplished professional photographer, but I've probably made the less money in the last 2 years than I ever have my entire life. Like I've been like put all the laundry on the table. Like I've literally been selling some of my assets in order to keep pursuing my dream. So if you want to talk about rock faces and whitewater, that's been like my last year hardcore. But my resolve to continue pushing towards my passion hasn't changed. And if it was, inverse and I had billions, I would just be doing more of it instead of worrying about filling gaps with work to still pursue it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. And it goes like Littlefoot threw a comment in here that goes right along with this. It's like, what if your desires, wants aren't done, but you lost the desire wants? I go through the motions if I still had them, but it feels empty. And we're going to get into this one in a second. But Jeff, any thoughts on anything so far?
Yeah, I think for me, if there was an abundance of finances beyond what I have currently, what I would do is, for me, when I see wealth, I don't see possessions. I see an ability to access higher information. So like if I had infinite money, I'd have my own stem cell research lab. Like that for me. Like that's what my interest is not to live forever, but to like understand the human body. Like, so I'd have like, if there was expense to be expended, it would be discovering like what if the game was, we'll say the human experience, once we get to this point, what if the game is, you've got this human body, right? In my interest is to see how can I make this gift of this human body that I have something that becomes its own lab. I can learn from how high stress, low stress, better eating, like I basically, it would give me more access to reach out to really sophisticated human beings in these very little slivers of physiology. And I would be able to access their information, because I think with the military, we don't ever skimp on bullets, body armor, and a lot of things we don't skimp on. But the military is basically in its infancy in understanding the human body outside of trauma. Like we're gonna go and go until the stress is even is too much. We're gonna keep going. We're gifted in that way. Like we're really, really good at the gas pedal, but we are not good at the brakes. But when it comes to meditation, when it comes to being legitimately like, how do I take these really high stress warriors, down regulate them, and then put them back into a conflict without worrying about longevity, right? That's what I look at. Look at the samurai class. Again, same idea. It's like, you weren't just revered because you were the world's best swordsman. You were revered because when you came home to your tribe, you had other roles and responsibilities in which the community revered also. You weren't just a one-trick pony. And I think that with our veterans, with our people, is like we're so forward focused on downstream that when the water runs out, we feel empty. But that innate drive to achieve and be something beyond what we conceptualize, we are that. Like that's why there's so many people that follow our lead, that want to know what we think, that like, because it's literally trying to figure out, like, it's like what Sean was saying. It's like you think away, but are you really, really thinking about what you are, not your situation? And that introspection is really like, it's untouched in our military, because it's like, I don't got time to tell you, just we're all wrong together, let's do it. Like, okay, cool, let's do that. But like, I see that there's an evolution, because we're talking about the evolution. This is it. Like this introspective idea of holistic way of living and being, we got to learn how to impart that upon our 22-year-old first year operator. So it's like, that's what we want to develop. I want to develop the thing that we're talking about and put credibility to it, put credence to it, put a practice to it that's been lost. Because I don't get to come home at the end of the night to my tribe with my sanctuary where I can sleep in bed at night with my wife and like everything's good, even though there's war going on around me. I would try my best to say, like, what is the most sophisticated way to take care of our operator? And I would use all my resources to encapsulate that into a system to offer to our soldiers. That's what I would do.
I really like that answer. Something clicked in my head when you're talking. You said, I wouldn't want to sleep in bed and have the war raging around us and that kind of thing. And it made me think, that's probably why a lot of young men want to go to war, because there's a war around them anyway. Like it's all going on all the time. So you get to a place where there is physical war and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense. it all kind of like
the inner turmoil of achievement or lack of a tribe. Like how many people go in the military because they're trying to find that place where they fit in. And we find it, you're like, oh, here's my people. It's more severe. It's the most severe parochial thing we've ever experienced. And we get around that and you're like, I'm here, but what does that mean for me? Like, that's exactly what Sean is saying. Now I'm here. Like, now what? Like, we don't ever have time to go, okay. All right, we're here now. Like, we're not here to pat ourselves on the back, but we actually have to reflect and understand what was achieved. Not to pat ourselves on the back, to go, all right, the system is different now. You're not the young bud student. You're a Navy SEAL or a Ranger. Like, You are different now, not in a tangible physical thing, but now once we get through it, you go like, yeah, man, this was like, because all of us that did this were like, well, I wonder if I'm going to make it. No, there was no question in my mind that I was going to get to where I was going to get. So once I get there and I'm around the same people going, yeah, man, I'm not surprised I'm here. Like, now what do we do with this? We just soldier on. Like, I think that there's a missing component, and it's not religious necessarily, as it's spiritual, but it's like integration into the human at that point. And not many of us get to have this conversation until we've done the thing. And then a decade later, we get to talk to other people and go, hey, this was my thing. Like, mine was like that too. And like, I'm so glad to meet you here because you didn't start your pistol. Like there's something in there that is ingrained in the likeness of our creation. Like, it isn't our physical attributes that got us there. It's who we were created to be. And when we get there, you're surrounded by those same beings. You're like, I don't know what to make sense of this. You're like, what's the pecking order? It's, we got rank and we got deployments, but you're like, hey, like, we are all meant to be here together in this terribly, dangerous environment. There's something about that. And we don't ever get a chance to like get around the campfire and talk about that.
That's what we're here for. That's the base principle that the collective was built around, was to be able to sit around, not just sit around, but like to be able to discuss openly at a campfire style what's actually going through our heads. Why are we doing the things we're doing? Where does that even come from? Why do you feel the way you feel after a certain time versus how do I feel? And I'm loving where this is going. Sean, what do you got?
Well, I would just like to clear that up a touch, because you're right, Chance, to some degree, but I think there's a finer point to it. We're not just sitting around chatting, you know, bumbling along about the water cooler moment. It's actually more interrogative. It's more inciseful. It's more not scathing, but it is more perhaps deeper thinking. And so that is uncommon, quite frankly. Looking, as I listen to Jeff, I'm hearing him loud and clear, but at the same time, I'm also looking for ways to put him in check. And I don't mean that in a mean-spirited way. I mean it in the sense of I'm looking for a way to make Jeff think a different way. And that's my jam, that's my problem. Like, that's just how I think and work and live my life. I'm always looking for a way to have another dude look at life differently. I wish I could give it up. I wish I could sign it away, but I can't. It's something that I'm stuck with. I just think that way. And so as I was listening to Jeff, all I could think of was he would like to create a stem cell lab. He would like to create a solution for other operators. He would like to make people like him better to some degree. That's what I'm hearing loosely. But what I would like to do is make 9-year-old Jeff better. I want to be in front of Jeff. I want to be in front of Jeff's lab. I want to be in front of Jeff's ideas. I want to work with the young Jeff, not 18-year-old Jeff. And so that's where I spend a lot of my time, is thinking about a man's mind as a boy and the things that he didn't learn and the things that he doesn't understand still as a man and the vocabulary that he has yet to learn. That's what I think about, because becoming a better operator is awesome, but becoming a better human is where my focus is. And so I'm not casting light or shade on Jeff's idea of making operators even better, because there's a need. And I know that's not what Jeff is saying at the integral level. But at a more holistic level, at a step back 10,000 foot view, I'm trying to make every little kid, girl, boy, better so that they can grow up into better humans. Now, that doesn't mean I turn away from adults. I'm fascinated by adults, but it starts well before you're 30. So that's where my head's at nowadays.
I really like that. I kind of want to. I really like where you're going, and I think that it plays into this question that Littlefoot put in here a little bit earlier, and I want to touch back on this. What if your desires slash wants aren't done, but you lost the desires slash wants? I go through the motions if I still had them, but it feels empty. And I think this is an important point within, especially the veteran community, because a lot of times what we believe are desires and wants either don't get finished, or they aren't actually what we thought they were once we get out, or we get beyond what we're talking about, right?
Do you mind if I take it?
Take it.
Just to set a stage to some degree. So two things, two posts, believe it or not. One post that I put up just before we came into the show, and it's part of that On Men series that I'm doing. And today I dropped a 10-slide series on finances, financial security, financial responsibility, what men have been told by all kinds of institutions in history that you are responsible for as a man, but isn't really true. And so how that skews your perspective of how to live a good life through messaging that isn't yours. You just take it on, sometimes unknowingly. And all of a sudden you've got a distorted relationship with money. And now you feel like you're not performing. Now you feel like you're letting the family down. Now you feel like a loser. And so I spoke about that this morning in a post, because finances are important to men. And then ... The things that I've talked about over the last little while are all pointing to this conversation. But none of it will make an impact unless a man reads it and then thinks about it. You can read all day long. And unless you think about it and then action against it, they're just thoughts. And if you think too much for too long without doing anything about it, now it's just called rumination. And so that's the first thing that I would like to talk about. The second thing, this is specifically for Littlefoot now. This is a post from Seb Lavoie the other day, and he actually pulled a quote out of my writing on The Warrior in the Garden. So I'm just going to read this little quote, and this one's for you, Littlefoot. This is specifically out of the book, which has yet to go to press. A resilient identity does not discard its past roles. It puts them to use. The identities you have already lived, the athlete, the veteran, the business executive, each forged something real within you. Discipline, the capacity to remain steady under pressure, and a way of reading situations that many people never develop. None of that leaves when the role ends. It is part of you now, available whenever it is needed. There is no reason to mourn a former self or to hide it. Keep what it built and set down what it cost. The years you have already lived are still working for you. And that is where so many men get it wrong, I feel. They forget that it's still all inside of them. They assign a label to who they are, and the moment they remove themselves from that label, I was an operator, the moment they step 2 feet away from that, they believe that they're not it anymore. But it's still freaking inside you, boys. Every second you show up to something, you're still it. You're still the things inside of you. But because we step 2 feet away, we feel like they're gone. And I don't subscribe to that. And so if your wants and desires are done, they're not done. Nothing is done. You just haven't looked closely enough, or you haven't introspected enough, or you haven't chewed on it long enough to realize that nothing goes away. Energy just doesn't work like that. You just have to find it again. That's all.
I like that. You got any thoughts on this, Jeff?
Yeah, I think for me, the way that I apply that is like, again, it's, you're looking at attachment and desire. It's the fastest way to suffering. I mean, that's the Eightfold Path. It's Buddha, whatever you want to call it. Like that's the transcendent way of being, is understanding. I agree with that totally. It's like, there's an evolution. Desire, I agree. I don't think it goes away. I think that that energy evolves into something else. Like the energy I had to become a professional baseball player created the foundation for me to have the energy and desire to be in the Navy. And through all of that practice, I learned that being present, and really not ego present, but being present, with the people I'm trying to teach and mentor is the best way for that desire to manifest itself into something that is who I am now. Like that's the truthful nature of it now. Like I'm a light switch away from being the Hulk. But now instead of using that as like I'm this tough guy, now I'm like, thank God I have that in me and it doesn't go away, but it's a matter of temperance. And I think that that's what we understand is like the amount of love and desire and attention that I tried to put into being a Navy SEAL, it doesn't seem like that should ever go away. It doesn't, right? Like when we're young, it'll never go away, but you most certainly go, wow, as it stands right now, 47, almost 48-year-old Jeff Nichols, I have zero desire to re-endure that. But I have even more attention and intentions to be not something designated to become, but something that the path in of itself is the point. Like it's like I just love the idea that I don't have to be stuck on an ideology, but I can impact. It's like you know what you're saying. Like I interface with people a lot on pragmatic programs. Do this, do that. But like when you get past the pragmatic programs, it becomes human. And that is where special is. That's where you get somebody, and that is where you can see through them, but they also can see you. And that's where the desire is really important. It's just a transference of energy. It doesn't go away. I don't think it does. I totally agree with Sean. It doesn't go away.
And so Jeff probably doesn't know this, but for 15 years, I've had 10 careers, but for one of my careers for 15 years, I was a high performance race coach, looking after athletes all over the world. Was a world champion in 24-hour solo mountain bike racing. And so I was never, ever, not even for 1 second, ever interested in the practical applications of all my programs that I would place on an athlete. Every day they were responsible to report to me. Every day I communicated with them via the interwebs. But it wasn't about the numbers, even though the numbers were the proxy. They were just the vehicle for us to have the conversation, the wattage, the heart rate, the RPE. All of these things were just nonsense for me to work in their mind and communicate with them as a human. And so 15 years, all day long, every day. That's all I did with all kinds of humans. And I couldn't care less about their wattage most of the time, even though they thought it was the most important thing to me. And I could create world champions, I have. Or they created themselves, however you want to look at it. But all of that was done about 27 layers deep below the wattage number. So little of it has to do with programming. So little of it has to do with coaching vernacular. In order to create awesome humans, you've got to work very deeply in ways that sometimes they're not aware of, and sometimes in ways you're not aware of. It's just being superhuman with a person will take a person far. That's all I had to
Sean, let me ask you, do you think that for all of you, do you think that the perspective that we have right now in terms of training an athlete like you, right? Like the young coach you or the young athlete you, Sean, like I couldn't interface as a young coach. I couldn't share my coaching space as a young coach. It was too, but now though I think what I'm hearing from you is that like when you became a good, great coach, it wasn't the numbers are going to be the numbers, but it's how did you interface with the human to get the best out of them, then the numbers showed up. Like that's what I'm starting to find is like I couldn't share a space. Now you're love right. To share the space.
Yeah. To answer your question, as I understand it, when I first started high performance race coaching, the first year we'll call it, I'd just come out of, generally speaking, being a computer system engineer, which I'd come out of being a use of force instructor, which I'd come out of tier 1 special operations. So bong, 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 the evolutionary process of thought. And so my first year as a coach, I was all about computer system engineering thought, systems thinking. I was all about programming and you know, 1 watt off. Are you kidding me? I said that number, not this number. And I'm a nerd as well, as you've already, you've stated you're a nerd. I've stated I'm a nerd. I love nerds. I love quirky people. I love all of that stuff. And so for my first year, I was a handful as a coach. Like, but we've got to learn. And so I had to learn. And so, as you probably already know, Jeff, but definitely you will understand in the very near future, all of that coaching stuff in year 1, year 2, etc., all of it just evaporates eventually until you just see the person for what they are. The numbers disappear, the sport disappears, their intention disappears. It just becomes like this magical matrix moment where, the numbers that you see, the green numbers, they're actually a language. That's how I always thought of my coaching. It took me several years to get there, but then I thought I was like freaking Neo reading the Matrix. And I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I am not kidding. That's how I worked. And so coaching like that actually taught me to do the things that I do nowadays, whatever I do. And so it took a certain element of faith though, Jeff. Like I had to kind of, and it's going to sound dumb, but I think you'll understand. I had to kind of start drinking my own Kool-Aid for a little bit, where I came in as like the nerd, went all hardcore. And then I hit my middle phase about 5 or 6 years in where I started to drink my Kool-Aid a little bit. Look at me, I'm making world champions. I'm a world champion. I'm so awesome. And then a few years later, I was like, are you kidding me? I think I've done it wrong. And then, it all disappeared. And then it all just kind of happens. And so that's where I'm at.
It sounds familiar, right? Like I've been coaching now for 27, 28 years. And just now over the last, my wife used to say, then when that transition, she's like, Jeff, you're enough. Like, stop being like, you're enough. Like, just be authentic. Like, you're enough. And now after my amazing wife helping me navigate this neurosis that I had of like, I gotta be the best athlete and the best coach at the same time. Like, no, like I find so much joy in receiving the text messages, the emails, where the guys that we've been a part of, like, right, don't take credit for it, but you're like, God, man, I'm gonna take credit for being joyful for you, seeing you in your uniform. You just graduated. We get emails and text messages all the time for all the guys that had graduated buds. I graduated PJ school. I graduated this. Or like, I'm like holding my phone in tears. And it's just the joy of it, right? Like I finally am in a place as a mentor and a coach where I can feel. You already said it before, feel, right? It's like I finally am feeling it, right? The flow state, the neo, like you're just like, oh, like, okay, like, so that's where I mean, like, I'm as intense as anybody I know, but it's more introspective now, right? And I appreciate the process, and I know other people are doing it, right? Like so many of us are doing it in the shadows, so to speak. Like we don't have millions of followers and like people propping us up by numbers. You're like, the intimacy of the people that we get to share our space with is lovely. I love it. I love doing that more than anything now, is sharing my space.
It's interesting because I'm a new coach. I just started coaching recently with jiu-jitsu and started teaching and trying to develop people. And I've struggled trying to figure out things and trying to be who I think I should be, and all these the things that you guys are talking about. And it's awesome because I have Sean. I get to sit down and have conversation with him twice a week and really, pick his brain and be able to pull off. He kind of laughs at me and he's just like, oh God. There's some benefits for him, I believe. But what stuck in my head is that as you guys were talking, we spend a lot of time saying, I am this. I'm a soldier. I'm a use of force instructor. I'm a blah, 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 rather than I did or I am doing, right? So by attaching all of our identity, I am a soldier, I am a whatever, I'm a photographer, Pat, right? Like attaching our personality to it, attaching our identity to it allows us to drive that home, right? It allows us to really push on that thing, and I'm going to do that thing to the best of my ability so that I'm a good person or I am a good whatever. When in, at least from my experience now, I look back on my life and I have to realize that I'm okay. I'm me. And what I did or what I do is not, it is a representation of me, but it is not me. And so with the podcast or with coaching or working with horses and doing facilitation and all this other stuff, I have to keep an understanding between who I am at my core and what I do. And I had this little thought construct in my head a little while ago was,
Yeah, sure you do.
okay,
But I'll put $1 billion on the table right now that in the next 10 seconds, you can't list off 5 attributes that at your core you are. Go.
okay.
I just won. And that's the way it is.
Give me 5 seconds.
I don't need the time.
Yeah.
It's that it's a rhetorical statement. The point is that you and damn near every single man on this planet doesn't have an answer to that right now.
For sure.
Because we don't put our lives on it. We don't stake our life on it. We feel that we'll get to it eventually. I'll think about that later. I'll figure it out tomorrow. I'll think about it when I've done the dishes, whatever. Nearly every single man on this planet doesn't know themselves at their core. Bam.
Ooh, I like where we're going with this. And so the reason I brought this up was the fact that I think that the question from Littlefoot was, desires, wants get lost over time, mostly because we attached our identity to it. So those that want, that desire, becomes an identity figure. And then when we either our identity shifts or we have to change careers or we are removed from what our environment is that we had attached ourselves to, then those desires go with it. And I think it's a real struggle for a lot of guys who get out, who have not done this, sat down with the boys and been like, hey guys, like, what now? Where do we even go from here? And I'm gonna hit Pat here real quick. I know you've missed a chunk of audio here, but any thoughts on anything that you have heard?
Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties. I was a tech nerd, and I decided to update my phone to the new iOS, the beta, and I think that's what's giving me the issues. So now I'm on my iPad. So apologies. Yeah. So the it's really interesting because I did catch a lot of it, and I'm still kind of like locked into here. It was super interesting because we're talking about the desires and stuff like that. Like the one thing that I know about myself is, and I hopefully it's not because I've spent so much time in the Lower Mainland, is that I believe I'm an artist. Period, and that is at my core through and through, and it always has been. I've always tried to draw or whatever. Photography's become my medium. But I think that's something that is like really in the core of me. So I think that's why it always keeps bubbling up, no matter how much other things pressure me to do otherwise, or the wants or attraction of other stuff. Like I was looking into getting my ISSA redone, and so I could do like personal training because like I've gotten way back into fitness and things like that. And it's like those are like, I won't say frivolous wants, but they're kind of like they're surface wants versus what's at my core. And when you lose the desire to do something, that's okay. You're okay. It's okay to phase away from something because you maybe oversaturate yourself or whatever. But if it comes back, that could be something that you should be looking at as like something that you should continue to pursue. And when you hit those lulls or those disconnects, it could be other things in your life that are actually pulling you away from what you want to be doing, or maybe it was never a true desire. So like it can actually live in kind of a dual space there, in my opinion. It was really interesting. I wanted to share a quick story. So the last month I've been working on a FIFA project, which actually involved the Qatar Special Forces and RCMP ERT. And it was a very interesting thing to end up on because of my background. I got pulled into this project to shoot photography. And once the boys knew where I was from, all of a sudden I was part of the tribe again. Right? They all wanted to talk to me and be with me. And like, we were conversing and stuff like that. They were like, wanting me to shoot the competitions instead of me shooting my camera. I'd have to be like, no, I got to do my job, or whatever it was. But I have to say that time was intoxicating. It was surprising how intoxicating it was to be part of that tribe again and be part of that, like, be brought into that, like adopted into that brotherhood so quickly and fast based on my background. And then when the project was over, the actual like space it left in me, it was actually kind of shocking. I had to sit with it for a minute.
Ooh, I like that. And not many people will, though. That's I think the biggest challenge is that even when you do have those opportunities, for instance, like OPJ, where you get to hang around all the boys and like do that thing again, and you have the diesel, the Jennies running, and you can hear it, and you're in the mod tent, and you got the smells and all the stuff, and then you step away, and all of a sudden it's all gone now, and you have to. It's all gone again, I should say, because it just kind of brings up a lot of thought. Well, I want to ask you, Pat, before Sean,
All gone
before you jump in,
again. We're talking like it's the only thing that
no,
exists
I
in the
know,
world.
I know, but
Cause then I stepped in a mod tent and I smelled that smell and my entire life disappeared. I'm a shell of a man. I
well,
don't
you know
see it
what?
that way.
No, you don't, but I think a lot of people do. And I wanted to
Yeah.
get Pat's thoughts on this. Was like, what actually went through your head when you had to do that?
Well, yeah. See, like, and it's not like there wasn't like a missing for who I was or the shallow man or anything like that. And then I think when I sat with it, there was kind of like a bit of a realization, rightly or wrongly, that I was a very functional soldier and a very unfunctional civilian. And so it's like, how do I now, and that's been like the continuation of the struggle. And it's not that I haven't been trying or I haven't done things like, all the modalities, whatever it is, mindfulness, meditation, long form journaling, uh, adjusting and changing like my core, discovering new things about myself, whatever. I'm still based on institutionalization or whatever. It's like, wow, I feel like a little bit of an unfunctional civilian. I love being a civilian. I love pursuing my art. I love doing all that stuff. But that it was kind of like doing a drug. It was in a sense because it was kind of like when because the boys were like they knew where I was from. They're like, you want to shoot, you want to get on the gun, and it's like I actually do, and I'm having fun with you guys. But I'd actually the other half of me was like, I really just want to capture this action. I really want to make this look amazing. And so I was kind of caught in kind of two worlds. It's not like I'm like I all of a sudden I'm back in the unit or all of a sudden I'm feeling that way. It had to do more with the core community. And I guess that also illustrated how much either I'm not participating enough, finding the tribe that I need to find, if that makes sense. Um, so, and because, you know, and it doesn't matter if you're a civilian or military or whatever, I just need to continue to pursue finding people that align with my core that I want to hang out with. Like that's why I like coming on the podcast is because like I get to hang with people that are like minded and like thinking.
Do you know what I love about what just happened? If anyone was paying attention to the logic chain, the flow of what Pat was saying and how he's thinking things through in real time. But all of those thoughts and all of those imaginations and all of that stuff means nothing unless you do what Pat did right at the back end. And that was he was then asking himself some questions of maybe that means maybe I should, perhaps I have to. It was a logical extension of his thoughts into action. So I heard Pat at the back end already creating forms of action, actionable thoughts, not just thoughts, but actionable thoughts. And like Pat's going to nail it, whatever Pat does. But the reason that Pat's going to nail it is because he understands the thought process. And a poorly formed thought process or a only 90% complete thought process is the same as a zero thought process. You got to take it all the way to the logical conclusion, as Pat did.
Bam. I love it. Jeff, you got any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, I guess me adding to it would just be more agreeing. Like, I think that, you know, these conversations, I think for most people can't have these conversations unless they've like, I feel like I found a pretty low point in my life, like overdosing on pain meds, trying to kill myself, things like that, like where I'd go around at the time of my life when I was in the military. I couldn't understand how someone would get that low. And when you do, you only really have a couple options, I think, and the option that I chose was introspection, like really like going back to 12-year-old Jeff and telling him it's okay. Like had those experiences, whether it's psychedelic experiences or meditation is something in my life that is it's about as paramount as breathing. Like that's what my wife teaches. She's been doing this for a long time. Like whether it's reading it, it's doing it. It's like what would I do if I had $1 million? I'd donate $1 billion and move to Burma and go hang out in a temple for the rest of my life. Like that's where I'm at. Like truly, like I really have that. I'm trying to draw myself out of all of this. Like I get it. Like I'm around guys all the time that are tier 1, tier 2, 3 in process. Like, and I get that. I always felt irrelevant for a long time being around them because I was no longer that identity. But the longer that I live, the more I'm trying to like, how far away from that can I be? And feel, I don't know, and they say it like literally just that, just feel. Because I didn't feel anything for a long time. I was like a lot of us, I was so innately focused. I had 17 combat deployments. I spent 308 days gone a year for 11 years of my life. Like I didn't see my son Ray grow up. I got all these things that we all did, right? We all did all that stuff. Now it's like society says you got to go on to the next carrot and do the next thing. And I'm like, F society, man. Like that's not what I'm about. I want to see how far away from society I can be and feel whole. And I'm not trying to get away from people. I'm trying to find you all, right? We're spread out all over the place. And our voice is just this, So I kind of look at it and go, every one of us is trying to put dialogue to what we're doing now when we're finally waking up. And that's what's magical, And I think that the understanding something in the English world, it seems like this modern world, we've got to put words to it. And that words help us give us a path forward. What's missing, I think, is like my goal is like, what if we could give this dialogue that we're all having to the guys that are going through the early stages of selection, where they're highly tuned in, they're intentional, they've got the time, they're super motivated, and like, where is it? Do we give them the manual? And who's going to do it? Are we going to trust the military to give them the manual? No. But it's a weird thing. It's like, how do we interface? Like, Pat's filming guys from Qatar military, and they immediately can sense like this guy knows, right? But it's like when I'm talking to young team guys, I ain't talking about shooting targets. I'm talking about this stuff. And how do we get this into the laps of the guys instead of the CO wants us all to read this garbage literature? No, screw the CO. Like, what do the operators want for the operators? And that whole dialogue is completely missing.
Well, let me throw something your way, and I'm curious as to your thoughts, Jeff. So, I left the military behind and I went on with my life and I did some things. And then eventually I was kind of tired of the world. I really was. And so I'm a fan of Miyamoto Musashi. And by fan, I mean like I'm well read.
Yeah.
And I've been to Japan 3 times, and every trip I've followed in his footsteps. I've stood in front of statues. I've stood in front of waterfalls. I've done that thing. I've done, karate kicks right next to, this, that, and the other thing, his dual sights, and etc. So I'm into it. It's not a casual thing for me. I've thought about these things a lot. And so what I did at one point in my life was I actually faded out of the world and went back to my little Miyamoto Musashi cave, where I was hanging out in my cave. And I didn't want to be bothered by the world. I just wanted to think about me and the world and things. I wanted to be left alone, quite frankly. And it wasn't like left alone in the sense of I'm going to end it all. I just wanted to be left alone, man, just for some time, for me to think and feel and do things for me. But, I've got a family and I've got like lots of responsibilities, but I just needed some frickin' me time. But mostly, I just wanted to be left alone. And so, then my nerd friends showed up and started poking me in the chest and saying, you got to start podcasting, you got to start doing this and that. And I didn't want any of it. Not at all. And then some of the boys said, Sean, are you familiar with suicidal ideation, the rates of suicidal mental health struggles in the Canadian Armed Forces? And I said, no, because I wasn't, quite frankly, I wasn't interested. I was just trying to figure out me. But then they poked me hard enough that I got into this game, a game that I didn't want, and here I am doing my best. Now, here's the interesting thing for you, Jeff. So you might be in the Miyamoto Musashi cave phase right now. I don't know. But I can assure you that if you've got some good friends or people who see the potential in you or people who care about other people, they will drag you back out of that cave and make you valuable again. They will make you not notable, but will make you useful. And sometimes that's enough for a man. Like, it's not that I felt useless, but what I felt when I was like hanging out in my little Miyamoto Musashi cave was I wasn't what I used to be. I used to be large and in charge. And now I'm just an old dude. That's kind of how I used to look at it. Even though I know I've got skills and attributes and all those things, I was like kind of not down on myself. I was kind of down on the world. Not depressed or in the hurt locker per se, just kind of over it, over the noise, over the static, over the BS. I just wanted to be left alone. But again, my friends dragged me back. Now, all of that leads me to this statement. I couldn't be happier. Or am I right now? I just couldn't be. Having been dragged out for now what I feel like a sense of purpose to some degree, a sense of responsibility, almost like a sense of higher calling. That's enough for me to now start kicking ass again outside of my cave. So sometimes we might think that our life is going to go a certain way until life gets involved with that plan and changes it accordingly as it should be. Just food for thought.
Yeah, I climbed out of my cave about 8 years ago. Yeah, like in that sense, right? Like literally, we've probably read some of the same books over and over and over again, like the Hagakure, you name it, man. Because it was going back to kind of like Chance's like question about kids and like superheroes and what do you want to be and like, or even like the Rambos. You're right. Like I revered that side of humanity. And I look back at them and go, why? Why do people like us revere that? And my answer for me was I saw how society at least portrayed that particular level of adulation or admiration. Like how did the world see Bo Jackson? How did this world see Commando? How did the world see Arnold Schwarzenegger? How did people see these combat heroes? Like, and it was like, well, I kind of see how they treat Michael Jordan, but I'd really much rather have that Commando presence, and where of anywhere else in history do I feel like that presence of lethality and awareness is exhibited the most, and it's definitely in the samurai class and in the special operator class. But I feel like we're missing this. Like you give the operator these chances to explore their vocabulary of emotion instead of just I'm angry, I'm sad. You're like, no, are you angry because you're sad? You're angry because you're hurt. You're angry because you're scared. Because I used anger and violence as my protective cloak. Anytime I got scared, anxious, worried, lost, I got mad. I got fierce. And so many guys will protect themselves with that innate fierceness, that likeness that we've got. But that wears us out so bad. It made me so darn tired to try to be tough all the time. And when I
Chapter 6. I
right,
just sent it to my partner.
right,
Precisely what you said. I just wrote an entire chapter on this subject.
yeah,
An entire chapter, about 8,000 words, on just this singular topic that you're talking about right now. And so, to your earlier point of how do we get these kind of things into the hands of operators, I'm not writing a book for operators, I'm writing a book for everyone. And it just so happens that the commonality of the human species, this topic that you're talking about, is everywhere. Every single man and pretty much every single human manages these. We have a fear level. We have a we're scared of whatever. But then the layer below that, the one that never gets considered or talked about or really spotlighted, is the real problem. But we take the fear, the level above it, and we manage that with anger. And so, you rattled off, 4 loose terms on what might create anger, but then way underneath that, there's always a root cause. Always. And that's the topic that never occurs. And so I'm not suggesting that Jeff just, split the atom, or I just solved the code, or, they'll put statues up about Jeff, about what he just said. All of these things are super. They've been around for thousands of years.
yes,
They're just not talked about openly in a way that everyone can understand it. And I don't mean like an operator or a housewife or the guy down the street. I'm talking about written in a way that people can pick up what's being put down. And these conversations, I wish I could have had them when I was 9 years old. I wish I could have had them when I was an operator. I wish I could have had them when I was frickin' racing mountain bikes. I wish I could have had them yesterday. But they weren't. And so now I'm writing about it. And your topic that you were just discussing, Jeff, is something that a million books could be written about. And we'd still need 1,000,001. For that one person who didn't get the 1 million times, that 1,000,000th and one copy, crack the code for them. And so I don't think that I'm going to help the entire planet. I don't think Jeff is going to help the entire planet. But I think between a whole bunch of people making a whole bunch of efforts, one way or another, someone's going to get helped.
I really like this concept of, somebody's going to help. I always tried to, when I first started podcasting, when I first started being a veteran advocate and trying to get information out, I always told myself, if one person gets something out of this, my job is done. Excellent. I've done something. But really, it's it's not even about, one person. It's about getting the information out there. And earlier, Sean, you asked me, who am I? I am a facilitator at my core. When all else fails, all I want to do is make sure that everybody else has information. Like I want to help other people get to where they can get. And whether that is me being a coach, or that is me doing equine therapy, or the podcast, or helping my kids out, when to answer the question of the show, and then what, that's all I want to do. That's if money and stuff was not an issue, I want to help other people. And so I had to develop my own concept of, if I help this one person, then I've done my job. No, my job is never going to be done. Whether it's one person or 1,000,000 people or 1,000,001 people, the job is to continue to help. That's the core root of it. It's actually not about any one person. It's just because it needs to be done. And I think that's an important aspect of this. Pat, you got any thoughts on any of this? Been listening quietly in the background.
It's funny because some of the stuff that we were talking about, I had the most random briefing when I was at CSOR, actually. Like and I'm sure we've all experienced it, but like in the command, they always make sure that they're always doing these like things for our psychology. They're always trying, right? And some of that stuff's super interesting, like having David Grossman and guys like that out. But we had a psychologist come in and just talk about mindfulness one time. And the way he started off his like little TED talk, or whatever you want to talk about, was this story about how he just wanted to get into his hot tub, have a glass of wine, and when he got when he's trying to get into the hot tub, he knocked his glass of wine off. It broke inside the hot tub, and he friggin' full raged, kicked a friggin' patio chair, and then he stopped and he was like, "Why am I reacting this way?" Right? And the whole topic was on mindfulness. And yeah, we can use things like anger and things like that as fuel. We can use it as like armor. But a lot of times now, when I have emotions bubbling inside me, especially if they last longer than a few seconds, like most humans, I shouldn't say I have to, I now default instantly to why why am I acting this way, and how is that moving me forward? And and sometimes it comes to all kinds of different things. It could be just I was angry that day, or that guy's pissed me off, or it could be like my ego is completely out of check right now, and I'm angry about something that is based on an identity or ego thing. And I think as we move through all this stuff, no matter what it is, the and then what is, you know, I won't say you have to have ego death, but if you can remove your ego and feel what's in your core, in your true self, not based on emotion, like full emotion all the time, I guess reactive emotion, then I think we can really start to dial in who we are as humans, who we are as people.
I like that. And not only, I think a lot of times, especially from the military realm, but I mean, police, first responders. I was talking with a friend of mine who was saying that there's a gentleman he knows who has been a school superintendent for like 30, 40 years, and he's being forced to retire at the moment. And he's really worried about it because he is so completely attached himself to his profession that when he's out, he has nothing left. And I've talked to many military guys who are the same way, who just like, if I ever get out, I'm useless. I have no value. And I started really processing this and thinking about it. And I wrote down here, what is valuable? Sean, you mentioned to Jeff kind of offhandedly, like, oh, well, you'll have value again when you do X. But what is value? What does that actually mean to any one of us? How do we determine our own value and then provide it? Sean, what do you got?
So I think that one thing that's super handy, and everyone on this panel already has experienced this, so it's not for the panel, it's for anyone who's listening. You get to a certain phase in your life, you've had some accomplishment, whatever the case is. For me, the case I'm going to use is I was a reasonably well-known international racer on mountain bike. And then on the BJJ mats, I blew out my knee, totally torched my ACL and damaged my PCL and MCL. Now all of a sudden, I'm not a world champion anymore. I'm just an old dude with a bum knee. And, of course, I've got several other identities, but at the time, I thought it was a big deal as a world champion. In fact, there's my world championship jersey there. Not a big deal, but big deal enough that I'm going to hang it on my wall.
Yeah, you're right.
So lame.
Yeah, wrong.
But anyway, my point is this, that I was living that dream, baby. I thought I was it, the one tiny little thing that I was. And then when that all went away like that in a split second, like on the mat, clang, you can hear the noise. There goes my career. But what is a career, honestly? I mean, does anyone on this panel here right now see themselves through the lens of I was a career? Because I stopped doing that a long time ago. And if you haven't, and this isn't again for the panel, the listener, if you haven't ditched the idea that you are a career, freaking do it ASAP. Because labels, believe me, will come and go. They really will, whether you know it or not. Whether you do it in your head or not, other people will do it for you for sure. Labels come and go. And at the end of the day, what are you at the root? What are you? Who are you? And where are you going? Not where's your label going, because, baby, that's freaking gone in the rearview mirror. It's old homework.
Right, yeah.
And so the only homework that matters right now is the one that's right in front of your nose today. And where that homework takes you is called the future, which you have no control over, other than freaking doing your homework today. So all these labels, all that stuff, I know it seems super important, and it's like your life will depend on it and all of that good stuff. Forget about it. Just be a good human and focus on who you are holistically, totality as a human, and you'll be a lot richer for it.
I totally agree. And actually, I wrote down, I said, actually, again, I use this all the time, but what do you actually want? And most people, I know myself included, I did not know what I wanted for many, many, many years. I thought I knew what I wanted. And one of the reasons why I wanted to ask this question to the whole panel was the fact of, we assume that we want certain things until we either get them or we don't. And then, so to really sit down and ask yourself, oh, what do I want? I want to buy a big house. And then what? Well, and then I want to buy a fancy car. Okay. And then what? And then what? And then what? And we're running out of time here, but my last question, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read these comments real quick, and then I'm going to give you my last question because I don't want to forget about these once we get into this conversation, because I think it'll be interesting. Littlefoot jumped in here earlier, said, upon further thought, maybe desire is not gone. A better way to articulate it is this desire is something that has more challenges than I'm used to. The lack of desire is more exhaustion. That's a great introspection right off the bat.
Friggin' congratulations. You found something that is awesome,
Yeah.
that is going to kick your ass and make you feel like you suck. Man, you're winning. Do you know how many people need what you've got right now? It's like a freaking gift. It's not a curse. Lucky you. Carry on.
Congratulations. I like it. Dan C jumped in afterwards, said, I never thought of it like this. When I was tired, I was looking for my tribe in the world, but my tribe in my mind was other military/police vets. It took a while, but my tribe is very eclectic now. Plus, it's hard to find other sailors like me out there. Yeah, that's for sure. Satch Motion says, good afternoon, boys. Good to see you, buddy. So the question I had for you guys is like, at the end of, and then what? What if you, and then what to death? You do all the things. You get all the stuff. You achieve or don't achieve, or you become enlightened or you don't. You are sitting around, and then what? What's at the end of all of that? Sean, I'm going to start with you. What do you think?
I was just about to hydrate. And
I
then
know.
what?
And then what?
So, and then what? Well, here's what. All I can do is answer where I'm at. How about that? Because I could pontificate and I could extrapolate and whatever 8 that I'm going to throw in there next, but none of them would be based in reality. My reality is this right now. I have liberty. And that's such a weird word to kind of wrap your head around until you actually have liberty. It's thrown around like something that you should aspire to, and it's got a definition. And until you actually experience liberty, like the freedom to do anything you want with your mind, your body, your life, then you only understand a Webster's definition of liberty. You're pursuing liberty, but you're not living liberty. And so for me, I have experienced liberty long enough now that I appreciate the ability, but I also appreciate the now what-ness of it, because I can literally do anything I want. And once you feel that liberty to do anything you want, and I mean truly, it will change your relationship with life. And what is my relationship with life? I am able to be in this moment as richly as any billionaire in the world, because it's of my own choosing. This moment is mine. I can choose to own it or not. And because I have the liberty, I can exist in it in a way that feels good to me. Not forced, not trying to earn it, not trying to be it, just be in it. So liberty is really what I would say is something that what's next, if that, that's a thing that I think people need to pursue. True liberty.
I like it. Jeff, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. I'm just going to use different words. The universe is unfolding for me in a manner in which I finally have awareness, and the way that it's unfolding isn't being disturbed by my frantic anxiety or anxiousness or my frantic desire to achieve. The unfolding of what's going on, of having enough life experiences, clearly making plenty of mistakes. And somewhere along the lines, I had some amazing humans that cared enough about me that didn't push me aside when some of my behaviors warranted me to be pushed aside as a friend. For some reason, I had a couple people. One of them is one of my like I've never had a bad experience with a Canadian. All my roommates in college were Canadian. My first troop chief in SEAL Team 6 gave up his Canadian citizenship to be a SEAL Team 6 operator. Lou Langlis, the late Lou Langlis, really amazing humans. But my point is that because I've now been afforded hindsight, all I seek is awareness. That's it. Like, I'm so thankful that I get to be in a space in my being where I can have conversations with other people without feeling like there is a comparative nature to this. Like, no, let me tell my stories to you. I can be heard. It's like, no. This isn't about being heard. It's about it's the collective, right? Like, it really, like, that's the point. And I think that I'm so blessed and thankful that I had the military. I'm glad that I made my mistakes. I'm like weirdly appreciative of my really bad decisions, and how low I let myself get in life. But now, like, that's what you kind of said, like, Sean, you're like, I want to impart this upon you. I want to if I could gift you, if I could gift anybody, it's what we can't put words to this, right? Like, that's the gift. And the fact that we get to walk through life and the people that get to meet us get to finally meet the authentic us, to include our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, and maybe down the line some operators or world-class mountain bikers or whatever it is, or skydivers. But that's the beauty. Like, I this is it. Like, I'm happy. Like, I'm really happy, and I haven't been happy since I was 12. After all those achievements, like who'd have thought we would all achieve all of this and not being this. That's why I am chasing my dream, because I'm such a dreamer. Like, no, like, I get to wake up every morning and not hate myself finally. And that sounds strange, but not to you all, I bet.
Not at all. Not at all.
Right?
How
do you give that joy to somebody? How do you do that? How? And like, it's not just words, man. Like, the heart of the people that serve our countries for reasons that we can't articulate, that likeness, that God-given creation of goodness, that's what I'm trying to give. And that's what I get to live in finally.
It's a pretty amazing feeling when you can wake up and not hate yourself. I gotta say, and it took me 40 plus years before I realized that I could do that. And to your point, I actually say this to my boys pretty often. It was just like, I want to impart all of the lessons that I know into you so that you don't have to make the mistakes that I made. Not to say that they won't, but they don't have to, because the information will be there. Whether or not I succeed or fail in that is a whole nother question. That's the beauty of fatherhood. Pat, you got any thoughts here?
Yeah, like, for the most part, like, we're we're talking too about, like, like the fact of, like, what happens then, right? And I guess, again, I'm fortunate to have found something that I like. Bury me with my camera, bury me with my freaking Leica. Like, that is the thing that I just know that I will pursue, and everything else in my brain is secondary. And I'll come back to ego, like, once I can learn to not let the ego show up as much. And of course, some of that is societal too, right? Like, wanting to make money so you can do it as a living. Um, But like even in that, I've had times where I've gone through a similar arc as the military, where I've identified myself as, X type of photographer. And I've like either turned down jobs or like overpriced myself purposely so that I wouldn't get the job because I'm like, I'm only this type of photographer. It's like, no, man, I could take a picture of a pencil and make it artistic and make it happy for myself and not post it. It will die on a memory card somewhere. But that's just what I pursue and what I'm like happy with. But yet I can still get pulled into the ego cycle of the whole thing. So the end then for me is finding that holistic circle of like, you know, being and doing, if that makes sense, and if I can find that holistic, loop without going through the algorithm of the other stuff, that would be, I guess that's what my pursuit is currently.
I love that. You should listen to Wednesday's podcast. We kind of talked about the OODA loop quite a bit, and how to utilize that. But it was a fantastic conversation. I got Littlefoot here jumped in, said, I met one of the Apache pilots who got captured in Iraq. He dropped the POW identity while his co-pilot kept it, and his identity hasn't worked out for him. That's a great point. And then he says, "Damn you, Sean! Now I got to find out who I am." Yeah, that's exactly what you got to do. Now we are running.
So there's something that I just want to highlight, and it's something that Jeff said, and I've thought about it quite a bit, but I've never heard it said in a way that made me cobble two things together. I'm just going to chuck it at you guys. So Jeff loosely had said that, how great is it for someone to kind of finally meet us authentically, like see us for who we are? How great is it that we can share a moment with another human being and we're our real self? It's amazing. It is. But you know what's even more amazing? When you recognize the moment yourself. When you see yourself with that other human being yourself. It's two different things. One is being authentic. The other is seeing that you're being authentic. And they are not the same. So, just a thought. I've never written about that before. I'll attribute it to Jeff, if you will. But it's just a thought construct out there for you to chew on, if you will.
How authentically are you being authentic? We get into authentception. Then you go back and forth into it. I love this. Now, we are running a little bit long on time here, but I'm going to hit this comment and then we're going to do some final thoughts. Dan C. jumped in here and said, amazing show today. Thank you. Play safe, gentlemen. Have a great weekend. Good to see you, Dan. Any final thoughts? Anything at all still bubbling in the background on and then what, or anything else that we've talked about? Pat, I'm going to hit you first and then we're going to work our way around. What do you got?
Final thoughts. Basically, with the whole theme of the whole thing, like I think we all completely understand this on this panel, that the pursuit of being a human or being in this friggin' meat suit while we're on this planet is, finding out who we are and what we are. And then, I've had a recent experience where someone wanted to completely close themselves off and do the whole monk thing. Not saying that I haven't been in that space, but I think it's a phase of recalibration, because the human experience is the whole thing. It's experiencing everything, the relationships, the creation, destruction, whatever it is. You're supposed to experience all this, and how you process that and are able to friggin' calibrate that within your being to become whole is, I think, one of the main parts of this whole time on the planet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, tracking. I like it. Jeff, any final thoughts?
Well, first of all, thank you all for your time. Honestly, that's the first part of it, I guess. But I mean, being able to, to occupy and share a space where it's not, doesn't sound right, but it's like there's no judgment to this, right? And like it's a real open thing that's appreciated. So I think that's the takeaway for anyone, is that you're not supposed to be integrated with the multitudes. You're supposed to find integration in people that you can be authentic to. And if you can't be authentic to somebody, you're going to have a hard time finding happiness. So that's for me with a tribe, with other people I get to talk to, with what you're going to do as a profession, what your passion is. It's, to me, it all stems around like, we're not solitary creatures necessarily, but it doesn't mean that like I have a lot of people, and like we all do, that when we speak, that it can be heard, but who's really listening? And are you? Because that's exactly what Sean is saying. It's one thing to like, hey, this is who I am, but are you just saying that so you can put your bookmark in, this is where I'm at in conversation? Or you're like, are you really authentically listening? It's for you. And that's a really beautiful thing, where I finally start to hear other people's voices, and I understand relationships in that regard, instead of a useful tool to get to the next conversation. And for that, I thank you all for that today, for giving me 2 hours for me to just be present, not be the Jeff show, be sincere about things that I care about deeply, but also give me an opportunity to hear other people that give a darn. And so thank you for that.
Well, thank you for showing up this way as well, because like it is not easy jumping into a live show with 3 people that you don't really know and being completely authentic in the moment.
Authentic, right? Just be real. Don't, and be kind. Like Sean said again, like what an interesting thing to be such a high capacity for violence for all of us. And what you do is, instead of in nature, you're looking, instead of being like the show, you're like, how do I slide in the back door? And people go, who's that guy? Like, oh, that's a super nice dude with tattoos. Like, okay, cool. Just leave it at that. Like, title aside, man. Like, who is that guy? That guy's name's Jeff. Like, what's his deal? I don't know. He's super nice, man. Giant, big dude with a tons of tattoos. I anticipated him to be like mean or angry. Or like, no, man. He's like super nice. Like that's my dream.
I dig that. I dig that a lot. And I love the way you put the line there. We're not meant to integrate with everybody. We're meant to integrate with each person individually. I love that. Sean, any final thoughts?
Yeah. So the topic title, I believe, was "And Then What?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's something for everyone. And then what? You die.
Amen. Right?
Welcome to the program.
Yep.
And the program has an ending, and most people don't think about it.
Yeah.
And here's one thing that I can also say for sure. There is an ending. And I say for sure because I've not died yet formally. But when you're on your deathbed, you'll have a freaking "and then what?" You'll be thinking about all the things that you wish you would have done. And then what? And then what could I have done? And then I wish I would have. And then, and then, and then. Right for the very few seconds that you've got left, there'll be a lot of and thens. Think about it now and get her done. Don't think about it then and wish you had of.
Can I slide a comment in there just quick?
Get it.
It's one of the, it's really important what Sean said there. And there's a lot of times, and I won't say all days, but a lot of days, I think to myself, if I get hit by a bus right now, am I satisfied with what I've done? And most of the time the answer is yes. You know what I mean? Like there's not it's not like well, I wish I would have. It's like, I feel there's enough stuff in my cup that if it's over, I'm okay with that.
I love that. And it's interestingly that you put it that way. I have a little thing, a process that I run through my head, not similarly, but not similar to getting hit by a bus, was if I woke up tomorrow and everybody was gone, would I be okay with that concept of like, would it be like, oh no, I wanted to say, or oh no, I needed to, would it be able to just kind of like, okay, and now what? And then kind of carry on from there. And I think that's
well, I got a question for you guys since Pat brought it up. I do have that thought all the time. Not like I'm going to get hit by a bus or it could end today, but like I'm very aware, and especially as I'm freaking way older than you guys. So here's what I do think. I did okay. I did all right. I did pretty good. Those are the words that go on in my head. I think I did enough. But I never, ever, ever think I freaking nailed it. And I also never, ever think I freaking let everyone down. Those are two things that never enter into my head. I'm somewhere in between the two spaces. If I let everyone down and I didn't nail it, whatever. I'm somewhere in here, in the middle of, I did pretty good. I did my best. I kind of got after it. But I never ever feel that I nailed it. And so I think that's where people should be, is I didn't crack it out of the park, but I freaking swung pretty hard.
And I'll throw this one last thing, just super quick, and that you're not done living. You know what I mean? Because like you can have that, I'm done and I'm done, or you can have that, I'm cool exactly where I am, but I'm not done yet. You know, there's still that arc to fill with whatever you want.
That's it. Every day we have 24 hours. Well, not quite 24 hours when we're not sleeping, but we have a certain amount of hours, and all things come to an end. So what are you going to use? What are you going to do with that time, really? And then what? That's where it comes down to. And sometimes you got to sit down and spend time figuring that out, rather than just running from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, which is what we, and unfortunately, a lot of us do. I know I did for many years. So I want to say thanks, Jeff. It has been a great conversation. Pat, thanks for joining in, and I really do apologize about forgetting to get you in today. I had you written down. I just did not put it in the right month. My bad. My apologies. And Sean, thanks for the conversation. This has just been fantastic. Littlefoot jumps in here at the end, says, Dead Sea was only sick when Sean was young. That was back in the day. Thanks for the insights, everybody. Good to see you, Littlefoot. Thanks, everybody, for the conversation. This has been fantastic. So as we all continue to learn, build, and grow, we'll see you next week. Chimo. Thanks, everybody, for watching and being part of the collective. If this has sparked any thoughts or resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us grow and keeps the conversation going. We'll see you all next time.